Hi. Oh, I see I've got some early hoppers honors. Hi, hi, hi. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. If you were watching my feed at all, you know we had a whirlwind 5 days in the state of Tennessee. It's a new love of ours, and I'll tell you, I can't wait to go back. I really can't. Hey, Barbara. We had so much fun, and I was really amazed by everything exceeded our expectations. And one of the things that we did was, I'll turn this around so you can see me a little bit. One of the things that we did was, visited Graceland. My son, Jeff, has always loved Elvis, ever since he was really little. And so for his 30th birthday, we had this idea, and he also loves Johnny Cash. So for his 30th birthday, we wanted to really do something, yes, he is, wanted to really do something special and memorable, because you only turn 30 once, right? And plus that, he's a really good son and a really good person. And we just wanted to treat him to something that would be so memorable for him. And thankfully, he said that the experience exceeded everything that he hoped for. So, I mean, what more can you ask for, right? What more can you ask for than that? So, it just struck me as we learned more and more about Elvis Presley, not only as we were going through the house at Graceland, but also through the museums, where we learned about his life and the things that he loved. And it became very evident the type of person that he is. He was a very good person, a good human being. And he had, towards the end, he had some troubles, but he was human, like all of us. And, it happens to all of us. But at his core, he was a really incredible human being. And I could hear, as I was forming these thoughts in my head about, oh, that's a great thing to know. That's a great thing. I could hear my coach, John Eric, and I could hear other coaches and other mentors in my life talking to me as I was attributing these things to Elvis. And so I wanted to share with you some of the things that he represented and how he lived his life. Yeah, I do too. We've always liked him, and now I'm just so impressed with him, obviously. So I wanted to just share with you a few little bullet points about words of wisdom that we picked up from Elvis. First of all, I'm going to flip this around. I want to share a little bit with you. These are just a few of the outfits that he wore, and some of them were so elaborate. It was just unbelievable, the outfits that he wore, and the glitter and the gold belts and everything. So, for me, that says the first rule of Elvis is dress up. If you're going to go out and put on a show, dress up and act like you came to do a show. And he sure did. And leave everything on the table. I've seen so many recordings of him doing live shows where the perspiration was just pouring off of him. And that's because he really did. He put 100% into everything that he did. And, he left everything on the table when he did it. One of the big things, this is a really fun thing, one of the important things in his life, and that I thought was so cool about him, is that the first thing he did after he bought Graceland was move his parents in. And they had their own beautiful bedroom in back downstairs of the house. He had always said that he was going to get rich one day and take care of his parents and build them a big, beautiful house. And he was true to his word, and he did that. And later his grandmother came to live with him. he grew up in a little 2-room shack. So they were so poor. But he loved his parents so much. And they loved him. They adored him. In fact, we found out something that if you're an Elvis fan, you may know this. But I never knew this about him. He had a twin brother who was stillborn named Jesse. And, you know, he knew that, I guess, his whole life. But the character on Full House, the Uncle Jesse, he was someone who really loved Elvis and imitated him a lot. And that whole, the name and everything was a tribute to Elvis's infant stillborn brother. So I just thought that was kind of a cool little bit of trivia. But it just, it exemplified for me how even something like that, you know, weaves into our culture. And he had no way of knowing that that was ever going to be the case. And Elvis was the only child of his parents, and so they were always very close. And his grandmother was really the matriarch of the family and was close to her too. So this room right here, I hope you can really tell what it is, was obviously the pool room. He was really like a big kid. He loved to have fun, and he designed and remodeled and redecorated the house several times. This is fabric. The same fabric that's on this sofa all over the walls and the ceiling. The entire room is covered in this fabric. I can't remember how many yards of fabric it was. Yeah, it's cloth, it's fabric, like reams and bolts of fabric. And it's so cool to look at it. And that this room was kind of a step down before you go up into the kitchen. This room, Lisa Marie narrated part of the little tour. We had iPads and headphones, so you could kind of go through at your own pace. And one of the cool parts of the tour was that she told some stories about living in that house. And she said this was where everybody got wild down here. Over here, you can't see it in this picture. There's a tear in the felt on the pool table where somebody was doing a trick shot that went wrong. And probably maybe had too much to drink. I don't know. Elvis didn't drink. He didn't even like the taste of alcohol, which I never knew. But he always, you know, made sure that his friends had everything that they wanted to make them happy. And Lisa Marie said this was one of the rooms where she inevitably got just as rowdy as everybody else and was allowed to misbehave and carry on a little bit when she was down in this room. So I thought that was cool. And every room in the house has a different theme to it. But he always had a lot of sofas and chairs and had the rooms designed so that his posse, his gang, his tribe could have a place to call home and be comfortable and just enjoy each other's company. So this is something that I think is really interesting. These are all of his gold records. I didn't count them. I should have, but it's a lot. And, you know, you think, oh, yeah, that's right. He was really, really famous. And, you know, such a talented singer. But this really struck me because in the same room, there's all kinds of murals and things. And a quote that is in that room that really struck me as I looked at this wall full of accomplishments. This is what he said in an interview. He said, "I've never gotten over what they call stage fright. I go through it every show." Can you believe that? Every show he goes through it. He says, "I'm pretty concerned. I'm pretty much thinking about the show. I never get completely comfortable with it, and I don't let the people around me get comfortable with it. In that I remind them that it's a new crowd out there. It's a new audience, and they haven't seen us before. So it's got to be like the first time we go on." What a message for everybody. No matter what you do, you need to have that kind of care. No, nobody can sing like him. The really cool thing about him is that one of my other bullet points is don't believe your own press. He was always kind of in shock that he was so adored and loved and so popular. He almost couldn't understand it. And maybe it was because of his humble beginnings. It was just the kind of person that he was. Don't believe your own press, you know. He kept around him the people that had always been around him, that had been good for him, that he grew up with, people that he respected and that he knew cared about him for who he was and not for his money or for his fame, because he was very generous and he shared, you know, with everyone. Another important lesson that tells me is never let fear stop you. He had stage fright every single time before he went on stage. He had all these gold records and he had stage fright. So, you know, the old thing, we all post, you know, do it afraid. Yes, do it afraid. He did. And one of the remarkable things in this museum was that all of these musicians, not just country stars, the Beatles, so many, Bruce Springsteen, so many artists across all genres said that because of Elvis, they became, you know, the artists that they became. His influence and his soul just infused itself. And Lisa Marie made that comment that his soul kind of reached out to other souls, and that was part of the attraction, I guess. He also, like we said, I showed you the pool table. Here's a picture of my son with one of the cars. This was a pink Cadillac before Mary Kay. He had dozens of cars and motorcycles. He loved to play. And these were just big boy toys. He loved cars, motorcycles. He had even some sleds and some really unique golf carts all over his property. So he worked really hard. He gave everything he had. He left everything on the table, but then he knew when it was time to rest and to play, and to just cut loose. And I think that balance, that's right. Before Mary Kay, I had to laugh. Maybe that's where Mary Kay got the idea for the pink Cadillac. I don't know. Let's see what the next slide is. Oh yeah, this was interesting. We paid a few dollars extra to go on the tour of his plane. And I'm not kidding you, this plane was like Air Force One. It had so much stuff that, I mean, even today, it had a queen-size bed in it. It had a studio where you could watch movies and listen to music. It had a full bar. It was just phenomenal. And it was just unbelievable. But one of the things that really struck me, and we've been learning about this so much in some of our social media coaching that we've been getting, well, really from the very beginning. But you see this, it's TCB, and the lightning bolt, that stands for taking care of business in a flash. That was his brand. That was his logo. And when you saw that, it's even on his tombstone at Graceland. I can't remember who, his cousin, somebody, who had all of the bodies of his mom, his dad, himself, moved to Graceland. And that's down on the bottom of his grave, is that brand, because it meant so much to him. Even one of his rooms, his multimedia room, was all yellow and black, and it had a whole wall of TVs, and it had a big yellow lightning bolt in it just to kind of brand the room, and it just kind of went with the decor of the room taking care of business in a flash. So I just thought that was interesting too, that he really, and it was a unique brand that was very recognizable, and he had it on everything. You know, there it is on his airplane. Let's see, what else? Don't believe you. Oh yeah, brand yourself. And then, I don't know, do I have anything else on here? No, that's it. You'll have to look at me for the last couple minutes. Yeah, he did. He always kept his brand and motto right there with him, so that, you know, I guess to kind of keep himself grounded, to remember what he was about and who he was. And then one of the other important things, and there was so much, and I'll probably have, I'm going to be unraveling all of this. I use the notes app on my phone while I'm going through Graceland because I didn't want to forget any of this, and I've got so much more that I'll be sharing in various ways over the next few weeks. But the last and also very important thing that I took away was to manifest your destiny. One of the quotes in the museum from Elvis was, "I always felt that someday, somehow, something would happen to change everything for me, and I would daydream about how it would be." So thoughts really do become things if you believe hard enough and long enough, and then take the actions to make it happen. Like I said, I was completely astounded at how much we enjoyed the tour and the museum. I was even more astounded by the life lessons that we picked up, and by what a decent person he was. He wasn't that wild and crazy, you know, star that maybe went with his persona. I was surprised, for whatever reason, learned that he didn't even really like the taste of alcohol. He drank cheer wine and something else. But that he was just a kind, simple, humble man. Yeah, I think his reality was way more than he ever dreamed, Dana. I really do. Just from thinking about who he was. Another thing that surprised me, when we were outside of the house, we were walking around the grounds, and he had a meditation garden put in. Can you imagine just what we know of Elvis, what we were allowed to see of Elvis, and from the marketing of him? Would you ever imagine that Elvis Presley would have specifically had a meditation garden put in at Graceland? Isn't that great? I mean, and that's where the graves are now of himself and his mom and dad, and there's just a marker for his baby brother, his infant brother, who was stillborn, Jesse. So they're all together there in the meditation garden, and it's beautiful. There are stained glass windows built into a kind of a half curved wall around it. Yeah, he really was. He was a young man, and unfortunately, I think other people's greed is probably what ruined him, and perhaps his because he was such a good person, and probably already you know, what was established. After his parents died, he really didn't have anyone to take over the business, and so the Colonel, I think that's what he was called, wasn't a very nice person, is from what I gather. They didn't say anything about that on the tour, but just from what we know of him, and I don't think took very good care of him. He did get his start in church, that's right, and he really, that was some of his favorite songs to sing, and wow, I mean, and they are beautiful when he sings them. Yeah, Graceland, I hope I get the story straight. Jim had to already correct me one time. They bought it from someone who named it after their aunt or something, and he loved the name. Or no, I guess the aunt gave this couple Graceland as a wedding gift, and so they named it after her, and he liked the name so much that he kept it. And so, it just became as iconic as he was. And we were surprised that it was not ostentatious looking. It was stone. Very, it wasn't like these 9-acre houses with 57 bedrooms. He did add on some rooms and eventually added on a couple of outbuildings. One was like kind of a recording studio, but he also had a racquetball court. And then around that, there was like a lounge area so that everybody could hang out and watch racquetball. He had stables, and there were several other buildings that he added on also. He was a really, really interesting person and a really good person. And like I said, I think he'd make a great life coach. At least I've got some great life lessons from him. So, I just wanted to share a little bit of that. I've got, like I said, I've got a bunch of insights and things that Jim and I talked about that, you get to talk about when you're several hours in the car together. And, I really recommend, if you ever get a chance to go to Graceland, it's not like going through, Mount Vernon. It is a history lesson of the time, of the music, but it also, you come out of there feeling like you really knew Elvis as a person. And you can't help but like him as a person, aside from his music. And I don't know how many pianos he had in the house. 6, 8, maybe more than that. I can't remember. But, music was his life. It wasn't just how he made his living or made his fortune. It was his life. It's what he loved more than anything in the world, besides his family, of course. So anyway, I wanted to share those little nuggets with you all. I have some more pictures. I'll probably just post them. I did post some while we were there, but it was hard to just pick a few until I've had time to come back and sort through them. But I did want to share a few with you tonight, just to get a little inkling of what we got. But if you do ever get a chance to go on the tour, you should do it, because it was just remarkable. It really was. So anyway, so that's all I've got tonight. I'm not going to ramble on anymore and bore you with any mindless ramblings. But those were the main points I wanted to get across to you. And I hope that was interesting and enjoyable for you, as it was for us. Thanks for hopping on. You do? You have a divider just like mine? I love it. It's great. I hope y'all have a great rest of your night. Have a great week. I will talk to you next Monday.